How you all doing? Frankie Russo, pre-show number 79. I just want to, you got to join America. I just want to start off how you all doing. I'm just like getting in the flow. I got everything set up over here. We're going to go over some things. I'm going to get a little more specific on this global terror network headed by Iran. I believe it's very important for us to understand what's really going on over here. It's crazy stuff. But anyway, before we get into it, I just want to say, got to join America's team, RussoNation.tv or America's Team.today. Join America's team and get a t-shirt, okay? Frankie Russo, pre-show number 79. Great stuff. I love this. Chill, relax. I'm over here, 77 WABC. It's about 152. We're chilling. I'm looking at different things for tonight's live show. So first of all, we're going to go back to the outline, okay? I just want to fix this thing that's smudged, and we're good, okay? So the bottom of the outline has America, the greatest country in the world. And we got, like I said last week, we got 90 million plus unemployed, more illegal immigrants than unemployed in this nation. We have upwards of 13 trillion more deficit in the Treasury Department. We have this Obamacare that's a whole new entitlement. And we got the market this week moved over 10,000 points, up and down. I was looking at the market this week because I follow it every day. In the beginning, like Monday, it opened up down 1,000. Before the day was out, it was only down 100. And then it closed down at 600. And it's been volatile like that all week. Insanity. It's like a pre-crash. I'm telling you, besides this empowering and enabling our enemies to become more economically powerful and more powerful on the nuclear side, in the military side, the military force side, like Iran. Besides that happening, the biggest threat to our way of life is the collapse, unfortunately, of the United States economy, the dollar, whatever, the market, the collapse of the economy. And I believe it's not around the corner. It's right there. Many people I've been listening to, they think the people that I listen to, they look at the shadow statistics, they look at the real stuff, and they feel like the economy is gonna there's no way we don't get through September without a crash. That's what they say. But anyway, just to get now to this, which I believe is statistically significant, this is my outline, my updated outline. New Iran, Islamo Nazis, economically prosperous, nuclear capable. To the right, we got an illegal president, Obama, fraudulent selective service cards, statistically significant by Sheriff Joe from Arizona and Nicole Posse. It hasn't gone through the official sniff test, but I believe it's statistically significant. Then we got the Obama administration, which went into a memorandum of understanding with the Clinton Foundation, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, Rosa Jackson. They are part of this new Iran. And I believe it's statistically significant when back in October 21st, 1998, when Clinton signed Presidential Directive 99-1 and blocked American people from garnering recovery for the loss of their loved ones in these terrorist attacks. There was a bill that was passed prior to his directive 1991, and he signed it, which was enables American people to go and attach themselves to the assets of these terrorist regimes, like 650 Fifth Avenue, which was owned by the Iranian government. Well, in his 99-1 directive, October 1st, 1998, 3 hours after he signed the requirement of 117, which was in favor of the American people recovering the damages, he waived it under national security, and he waived it in favor of the Iranian government. Okay? So then, as we know, we got this global terror network with Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Quad Force, General Soleimani, Alevi Foundation, Asset Corporation, Bank Melli of Iran, CARE, Council of, I think, Arabic Islamic Relations, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, NAIT, North American Islamic Trust, and then we got, that reminds me, I got to check out an article on the NIT, and then we got the Al Qaeda Iran nexus, the Afghan Taliban Iran connection, Hamas Iran connection, and Hezbollah Iran connection. This is the global network, the global terror network, headed by Iran. That's what it is. And then we have to the right, on the right of, it will be, I guess, your left, the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. And then we have all these different, because the Alevi Foundation gave, which is the Global Terror Network, the Global Terror Network gave the Blind Sheikh's Mosque $1.4 million. Statistically significant. We got three sources. And so what came out of the Blind Sheikh's Mosque? 1993 World Trade Center bombing, Holy Land Foundation trial, illegal money laundering. We got 9/11 attacks, crazy 655th Avenue money laundering. We got Blind Sheikh, Muhammad al-Nuni, Musa Abu Mazouk. We got the Al Rani Brooklyn Ring and the Brooklyn Ice Cream Parlor, Yemen Sheikh, where they just were funneling millions, 20, $40 million, 40 million, 40, upwards of 40 million between these groups to Al Qaeda, and about 5 million to Hamas. Crazy stuff between the Al Rani Ring, the Brooklyn Ice Cream Parlor, and the Yemen Sheikh. So, Holy Land Foundation trial, big Hamas financing, and it was a statistically significant case. And then we got the obviously the plot to blow up the George Washington Bridge, the United Nations, Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, crazy stuff coming out of the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. September 11th attacks, 1993 attacks. So this is where we're at. Global terror network. So how could we're going to get a little more specific tonight. I'm going to go over 2 or 3 situations that came to my attention, go over it, and we're going to further cement this global terror network. Okay? So, global terror network. Just on the outside looking in, we know, to keep it simple, within the Islamic thing, there's this Shia militia, Shia sect, and there's this Sunni sect. So on the outside looking in, all intents and purposes, they supposedly don't get along. Maybe that's the case. There's evidence that is true. Whatever. Within this global terror network, there's a connection. I believe it's statistically significant. And it just further shows the global terror network that we're dealing with. Okay. So I'm going to go. It's been reported this week, Yahoo News and other news outlets, that a man described as, I'm just reading right from the article, a man described as the mastermind of the 1996 Crowbar Towers bombing that killed 19 American servicemen in Saudi Arabia has been captured. Crazy, right? 96, 2006, that's 10 years. 2016 is 20 years. 20 years later, I don't know. But they're saying it was a nearly 2-decade manhunt for one of FBI's most wanted terrorists. And his name was Ahmed al-Mughassil. He was arrested in Beirut and then transferred to the Saudi capital. And he's 48 years old, described by the FBI in 2001 as the head of the armed wing of the once active Saudi Hezbollah group. The FBI has offered a $5 million reward for information leading to his arrest. And in June 25th, 1996, just to give you reading from the article, this is like the details of some of the details of what happened. Truck bombing at the Crowbar Towers, an 8-story dormitory in eastern Saudi Arabia for U.S. Air Force personnel assigned to the Gulf, killed 19 Americans and wounded 372 more. It was the deadliest such attack targeting U.S. forces since the 1983 bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, killing 241 United States Marines. Al-Mughassil, also known as Abu Amran, is one of 14 people named in the 201 indictment in Alexandria, Virginia, in connection with the bombing. Charges include murder of federal employees, bombing resulting in death. So that's what was reported in the Yahoo News this week. This was this week. Global terror network. Keep this in the back of your mind. Now I'm going to go to a document, a PDF document, counterextremism.com, IRGC threat report. It's a PDF file, well sourced. June 25th, 1996, a truck bomb blows up a dormitory complex at Saudi Arabia's Crowbar Towers, a military housing complex for U.S. Air Force pilots and staff. 19 Americans are killed, 372 wounded. Attorney General's statement, U.S. This is the sources, Attorney General's statement, U.S. Department of Justice, June 21st, 2001. An investigation by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation finds Shiite militants inspired. This is from the FBI, the United States FBI. I'm going to read it. An investigation by the United States FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Okay? It's late at night. But anyway, finds Shiite militants inspired, supported, and directed by elements of the Iranian government responsible for the bombing. So, the Iranian government. Hezbollah, the Iranian government is considered responsible for the 1983 Beirut bombing and killing of the over 200 United States Marines. And now, for all intents and purposes, Iran is responsible for this. And they sourced the case, United States versus Al-Mughassil, June 19th, 2003, to confirm the statement about the FBI and their findings. Okay? So this is just this information just came out this week. They captured Al-Mughassil in Saudi. And they sent him, where they capture him? In Beirut. And they transferred him to the Saudi capital, to Saudi. Okay? Saudi Arabia, all right? So that's one thing I thought was pretty interesting. And this also goes to I don't know, like 20 years later, And this goes to like the Benghazi thing and the time value of information, the time value of money. Money is most valuable on in a general way of looking at this situation. As an example, money is most valuable what you have at hand, what you have in your pocket, what you have in your what's liquid, your liquid cash, right? Time value of money, what you have at hand, as opposed to what's deferred in the future. So same thing with information. And I believe this is what the problem is. A lot of it is too, is the politicians count on information coming out later. Like, I'm going to get into this other one, this case, like this particular situation where they finally found this gentleman, and it's come out now through the FBI investigation that they found the Shiite militants inspired, supported, and directed by elements of the Iranian government responsible for the bombing. And in here, in this article in the Yahoo News, but it stops short of naming any Iranian officials. You know, this publication doesn't specifically name the Iranian officials, but it holds the Iranian government culpable based on the FBI investigation that's in the June 21st United States, which is part of the United States versus Al Magassel case, June 19, 2001. Wow. This case came up before. I just noticed it. It came up before the bombing of the World Trade Center. It's crazy. Which brings me to what I'm. The other thing I'm going to talk about is this Iran connection with the 9/11, and it just came out like because the politicians count on information coming out later, so whatever's done, whatever, they're either out of office. It's cycled news. And it comes out like this, 20 years later and unnoticed. So I'm in the complaint with the. Let me just get the name of this complaint. Okay, it's the terrorist attack, September 11th terrorist attack, and the plaintiffs are Americans, the Americans, in other words, the families of the victims of the September 11th, 2001 horrific terrorist attack on World Trade Center, and they lift Osama bin Laden, Al Qaeda, Taliban, Mohammed Amour, Iran, the Khomeini, president of Iran, Hezbollah, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. It's pretty well documented, right? So now I'm going to go to this thing called. Before I just wanted to go through this case, right? I had it. Where is it? I'm getting there. Okay, okay, wait. Is that it? No. I just wanted to just bear with me 1 second. No, too far down. But anyway, this is the case that, oh, here it is, bridging, I got it. Bridging of the Sunni Shia divide. I mentioned earlier, and we talked about it, both Iran and Al Qaeda they're cutting deals with potential future, though one is, like Iran is the Shia leaders, the leading Shia militia, and Al Qaeda is the militant branch of Muslim Brotherhood. They're Sunni. Members of the Shiite Sunni sects, particularly at the leadership level, often work together on terrorist operations. The religious differences, to the extent they retain any validity at the leadership level, are trumped by the leader's desire to confront and oppose common enemies, particularly the United States and Israel. And this is evidence. I mentioned Claire Lopez and this other gentleman, Teft, in my past pre-shows. And these people they're intelligence, they're heavily been involved in the intelligence community of the United States for quite a long time. So they're they're privy to all of the intelligence information about this Sunni Shiite connection, and it's real. So it's real. And then Timmerman, I talk about a lot because he does a lot of stuff. He does a lot of. He's written that book on the dark forces, the truth about Benghazi. So I ran through Shiite. I ran those Shiite. Those Shiite. Iran, though Shiite, is willing to use and support Sunnis as proxies to carry out acts of terror. And the people, Tillerman and Lopez, they support that statement. And it's also in the 9/11 report, which is the relationship between Al Qaeda and Iran, demonstrated the Sunni Shia divisions did not necessarily pose. So, in other words, and it's on page 61, they talked about it should be looked into more, that it is there. And during the 80s, Iran began formulating contingency plans for anti-U.S. terrorism operations, unfortunately, and this is where we get into this now. In the 1990s, casting aside the historic bitterness between the Sunni and the Shiite sects of Islam, I'm reading right from this complaint. Sudan's political leader and Iran's political leadership intelligence established close ties, including parliamentary intelligence connections, beginning a united Sunni Shiite front against the United States. And so, and then while now I'm going further, Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda were headquartered in Sudan in the early 90s. That fostered the creation of a foundation alliance for combined Sunni Shia opposition to the United States and the West, in an effort that was agreed to and joined by Osama bin Laden and other leaders of Al Qaeda, and by the leadership of Iran. So Iran is there. 1990s, the Al Qaeda, Iran leaders, and the Al Qaeda leaders became key links between various radical Islamic terrorists. Members of different Islamic sects, both Sunni and Shia, were assembled in Sudan and Iran. This is confirmed by Claire Lopez and Teft. Those are two highly regarded intelligence sources. Teft he's well versed. He's got a tremendous amount of experience in the intelligence community, and he's a credible witness in a lot of these terrorist cases. So he's a credible witness in these cases. Teft. And in 1991, Zawahiri paid a clandestine meeting to Iran to ask for help in his campaign to overthrow the government of Egypt. And in subsequent visits in Iran and Sudan, al-Zawahiri met with a leader who convinced him of the power. So, wow. So he went into this. This is where he went into the suicide bombing. The single event became suicide, was prohibited by most. So Zawahiri, who was a leader with Osama bin Laden, developed close relations during visits to Iran, and this is how this developed. So this thing goes on and on and on, with showing examples of the Sunni Shiite supposedly divide. The well-known religious division between Sunnis and Shiites did not, in fact, pose an insurmountable barrier to cooperation in regard to terrorist operations by radical Islamists and leaders. Iran, which is largely Shiite, and its terrorist proxy organization, Hezbollah, also Shiite, entered into an alliance with Al Qaeda, which is Sunni, to work together to conduct terrorist operations against the United States during the 1990s, continuing through September 11, 2001. And this is a little backdrop before the terrorist attacks by Iran, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda terrorist alliance. I mean, this is like crazy stuff. This is like The creation of the Iran-Hezbollah Al-Qaeda terrorist alliance was formed by a string of terrorist strikes directly against the United States. On February 26, 1993, the first World Trade Center bombing occurred, killing 6 persons, injuring more than 1,000. A few months later, an Al-Qaeda conspiracy to bomb several New York City landmarks, including the Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel, was disrupted. The Blind Sheikh, whose Egyptian radical group is linked to al-Zawahiri and Al-Qaeda, was convicted of masterminding the plot to engage in urban warfare. And they talk about Argentina, which is another day, another discussion. Now here comes the crowbar towers. FBI investigators concluded the operation was undertaken on direct orders from the senior government leaders. The bombers have been trained and funded by the IRGC in Lebanon, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and senior members of the Iranian government, including Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Intelligence, Security, Supreme Leader's Office, had selected Crowbar as the target and commissioned Saudi Hezbollah to carry out the operation. And that's Lopez and Teft affidavits. So Teft, like I said earlier, has been a tremendous asset to this whole process of testifies. His affidavits are tremendous. Him and Lopez. Al-Qaeda was involved in planning the preparations for the Crowbar tours. Planning Osama bin Laden tried to facilitate a shipment of explosives on the day of the operation. The United States District Court found that the material support of Iran, the IRGC, was supplied to Al-Qaeda through Iran's sponsorship of Hezbollah. So this is very statistically significant that Iran terrorists travel, okay. Testimony. Let me see if I can find this. I'm trying to find I want to give you the exact background of Lopez and Iran's. One of the things Iran did, Iran provided material support to Al-Qaeda after 9/11 attacks in several ways, most significantly by providing safe haven to Al-Qaeda leaders and operatives, keeping them safe from retaliation by the United States forces which invaded Afghanistan. And according to the court ruling of this case, United States District Court in 2011, Iran materially supported Al-Qaeda before, during, and after. Not just after, but before, during, and after the 9/11 attacks. Crazy. Crazy. Now here's interesting, because there's some stuff on the Afghan Taliban. Yeah. When the United States-led multinational coalition attacked the Taliban regime in Afghanistan in 2001, Iran facilitated the exit from Afghanistan into Iran of numerous Al-Qaeda leaders, operatives, and their families. The Iran-Afghanistan Safe Passageway, established earlier to get Al-Qaeda recruits into and out of training camps in Afghanistan, was utilized to evacuate. It's 12:20 in the morning. To evacuate hundreds of Al-Qaeda fighters and their families from Afghanistan into Iran for safe haven there. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps knew of and facilitated the border crossings and of these Al-Qaeda fighters and their families entering Iran. So, other findings, let's see. Okay, here's what I wanted. Expert testimony. Okay. I just want to get the proper qualifications on Lopez, Claire Lopez, and Teft. Claire M. Lopez and Dr. Bruce D. Teft have been engaged by the CIA as undercover operations officers and supervisors for over 25 years each. While currently retired, both are privately retained by various federal contractors engaged in intelligence gathering and security matters. Specifically, Bruce Teft has been found to be certified as an expert, that's what I wanted to bring out, in the United States district courts in Washington, D.C., in approximately 7 different cases involving terror by Iran and Libya. Lopez and Teft conclude in their affidavit that the material support provided by Iran Hezbollah to al-Qaeda both before and after, among other matters, planning, recruitment, training, financial services, expert advice, assistance, lodging, safe houses, false documentation, identification, communications, equipment, facilities, weapons, lethal substances, explosives, personnel, travel, and facilitation. So Lopez and Teft also concluded that with regard to September 11 attacks, that with regard to the September 11th attacks, Iranian travel facilitation enabled 8 to 14 Mosul hijackers to acquire needed Saudi passports, United States visas, thus ensuring their continued training in Afghanistan and access to the United States. This travel facilitation to and from Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Afghanistan was a vital link in the 9/11 conspiracy and an indispensable aspect of the terrorists' success. Lopez and Teft conclude that the Iran al-Qaeda joint terror attacks against the United States were preceded by the Crowbar Towers bombing in 1996, the twin bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa in 1998. This is all Iranian al-Qaeda. The twin bombings of 2 United States embassies in Africa in 1998. The boat suicide bombings of the destroyer USS Cole off the coast of Yemen in 2000. Lopez and Teft further conclude that Hezbollah and its terror operations chief provided explosives, operational planning, and training support for all of these of al-Qaeda attacks against America. All these attacks. Lopez and Teft conclude their sworn affidavit by stating, "We are convinced that the overwhelming evidence assembled in this affidavit leaves no doubt that al-Qaeda and the official Iranian regime at the highest levels have been acting in concert to plot and execute attacks against the United States since early 1990s. The Pan-Islamic alliance that was forged across the supposed Sunni-Shia divide has been directed by the Iranian mullahs, in close cooperation with Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and other leaders of al-Qaeda." Lopez and Teft declared that the al-Qaeda-Iranian alliance was responsible for all of the most significant terrorist attacks against U.S. national interests from the 1990s up until and including September 11th. And now, we got other stuff that we're coming out with, but we just captured the al-Mughassil, one of the main perpetrators of the Crowbars Towers in Saudi Arabia, that attack. So this is clear and convincing. Before we leave, now, another aspect of the global terror network. So we have right now, just based on this, because I'm really looking, I want to cement in your brain that we have this Iran is the head of a global terror network. And just so you understand, I'm talking now because we've already talked about these others, but I really want to, I'm looking to really, for you to understand that there's a al-Qaeda-Iran nexus connection. There's a Hamas-Iran connection and Hezbollah-Iran connection. So I showed in this complaint, we showed based on Claire Lopez and Teft in this complaint on this case brought by Americans, families whose families were victims of the September 11th 2001, the unfortunate horrific attack on our World Trade Center. They brought this to the district courts, and they won $6 billion in damages. And what came out of it was how deep this connection is. So, in addition, we talked about the Al Qaeda Iran connection. We got Iran Hezbollah connection, Al Qaeda connection, and it was confirmed here again, just so everybody understands. It's been confirmed here again, just so everybody understands. Lopez and Teff conclude that the Iranian Al Qaeda joint terror attacks against the United States was preceded by the Crowbar Towers bombing in 1996, the twin bombings of 2 United States embassies in Africa in 1998, the boat suicide bombings of the destroyer of USS Cole off the coast of Yemen in 2000. Lopez and Teff further conclude that Hezbollah and its terror operations chief provided explosives, operational planning, and training support for all of these Al Qaeda attacks against America. This is Claire Teft and Claire Lopez and Bruce Teft. So this is statistically significant that going back to the 1990s to today, there is this connection between Al Qaeda Iran, Hezbollah Iran, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, and now we got Hamas. So Al Qaeda is the Sunni part of this, okay? And now we got Iran renews support for Hamas terrorists. Now, we know, based on Treasury Department, just to understand, because money is important. Money shows the connection, as well as we got testimony. Where's the money? You know, the Treasury Department in their press release in 2001, and we're closing out. In 2001, 2002 to 2006, that's what it was. Right. I'm just going to my PDF. Not my PDF, okay. We know that Bank Melli of Iran, according to the United States Treasury Department, has been designated as a WMD's proliferator by the United States, European Union, and Australia. And we know Bank Melli of Iran is part of the global terror network headed by Iran. And they're owners of the 650 Fifth Avenue case. And in addition, the United States Treasury Department between 2002 and 2006 deemed Bank Melli sent at least $100 million to Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, and other groups via Quds Force, a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, IRGC. So we know, we can safely say with much certainty that I can't say that $100 million went to Hamas, but I could say with statistical significance that millions of dollars went to Hamas. Okay? That's one. So keep that in the back of your mind now, because now we got this other thing. Now, according to reported by the Washington Free Beacon, Iran renews support for Hamas terrorists. Iran's foreign ministry on Wednesday reiterated its support for Hamas and other anti-Israel. This was published on August 27, 2015 by Adam Credo and other Israeli terrorist groups, and said that aiding those who stand against Israel, basically, I'm paraphrasing. The Islamic Republic's renewed backing of Hamas comes and reports that relations between the two, it's not true. Iran denies that. This is the case. It made it clear this week that it'll continue to back terrorist entities that seek Israel's destruction. And this is a group that we're about to entering into this so-called fake deal. These terrorist groups with Iran's support will stand on the front line on the war against Israel. And Iran's renewed interest in public support for Hamas is a sign that the Islamic Republic has no intention of moderating its extremist views in light of the recently secured nuclear deal. I'm reading right from the article, Adam Credo. Now, what's really interesting in this article, okay, to sell the deal, they had to distort the facts about which is not true. All fractions of the Islamic regime in Iran firmly believe that Israel must be destroyed. This is crazy, right? They just have different opinions about you believe this? Best way to reach the goal. But their objective is still the same. So they try to, they try to soft code it, and meanwhile they're going to try to destroy Israel any way they can, Iran. So Iran will continue providing weapons to support Middle Eastern countries fighting terrorism, says Zarif, Foreign Minister of Iran, who is the chief negotiator of the Iranian nuke deal with the six countries. America was supposed to be the leader, and we ended up, in all intents and purposes, according to many people, anecdotal right now, but we're gonna go hard on it, that America was representing Iran. But we'll get to that in the subsequent weeks, in the weeks to come. But anyway, it's 12:32. Okay. Following the nuclear deal, Iran will preserve its defensive capabilities and send weapons to regional allies. Meanwhile, members of Hamas praised Iran in recent comments and thanked the Islamic Republic for support. Musa Abu Marzouk, he's number 2 in Hamas. He's involved in the Holy Land Foundation trial, Hamas financing. I mean, this is like from the United States. Iran's various supports for Palestine has been precious, abundant, greatly influenced the Palestinian resistance, says Marzouk. More than 70 members of the Iranian parliament recently petitioned the president to increase Iranian support for regional resistance front after the nuclear agreement. These Iranian lawmakers called on the president of Iran to use the ministries of defense and foreign affairs to send aid to the Palestinians in accordance with the instructions from the Ayatollah. And according to the top Iranian national security official, demanded this month that all the senior Iranian officials support aid for Palestinian people and the resistance front so that the nuclear agreement is not exploited to strengthen Israel's security. Crazy stuff. Israel's our ally. In my world, Israel's God's country, and Israel gets bombed. It's like bombing America in my world. But truth be told, so this is crazy stuff now, and so this is further support. This report by Adam Credo from the Washington Free Beacon, that the relationship between Iran and Hamas is alive and well. Quite frankly, between the money and the rockets that was given, it's all over declassified intelligence documents, that rockets were given from Iran, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, Quad Force, Special Forces, General Soleimani. Rockets were given to Hamas to drop on Israel from 2006, 2007. So they dropped them on 5,000 to 10,000 rockets on Israel. So that's another statistically significant connection, so of this global terror network. So next week, I'm going to talk about the Afghan Taliban Iran connection. And then we're going to get into the Russia arms and missile. They're sending arms and missiles to Iran, and they support Syria. And just for the record, we talked about it last week, just so everybody knows how deep this connection goes. What do we know? And I'm going to leave off at this. What do we know at this point, right now? Iran fronts the Syrian Assad regime. $6 billion annually is given to them, according to Kenneth Timmerman. Iran floats currency in Iraqi banks, $2 billion Quad Force and General Soleimani. This is outside the Iranian purview, according to Kenneth Tillerman. So this is money in addition to what they get from the Iranian government. And then we got Bank Mali of Iran. We spoke about that. And that's where we left it off. We have, oh yeah, and then we're at this point where we have this, and we spoke about it last week. Approximately $150 billion from the Iranian nuke deal going back to Iran, according to a study reported by the Washington Free Beacon. I think it was Adam Credo. According to the study, $5 billion will be allocated toward, quote unquote, the global terror network. Only $5 billion? I believe it's going to be more, quite frankly, based on the Chris Wallace interview of Senator Barrasso from the United States Senate. And he said to him, W sanctioned the Iranians. We talk about this every week. W sanctioned the Iranians up the wazoo. I'm paraphrasing. And he had hundreds of centrifuges and went to tens of thousands of centrifuges. Sanctions don't work. Okay. But it tells us something. How crazy and mad and nuts these Iranian leaders are. And we're just emboldening them and giving them more economic power, more economic freedom, and nukes with this Iranian nuke deal. Okay, so this is the Frankie Russo pre-show. Yeah, I'm getting ready for the live show. America's Team, RussoNation.tv, America's Team.today. We're going to keep going over. We're going to keep fighting the fight. Besides the collapse of the United States economy, the biggest threat to our way of life is an economically wealthy, an economically flourishing Iran with nukes. The Islamo-Nazis of the 2010s or whatever. Crazy stuff. This is the Frankie Russo pre-show. Yeah. I'll see you in about a half hour. Talk to you soon.